birth and death, and the three habit energies. Even though internal consciousness exists, still there are no external conditions, so what is the basis for the continuity of birth and death among sentient beings? Vasubandhu's verses say, the habit energy of various actions, together with the habit energy of the two graspings, when prior retribution is exhausted, subsequently produce other retribution.
The treatise says that various actions means meritorious, unmeritorious, and unchanging, which is to say, impure good and bad volitional action. The name action also applies to the retinue of action, i.e., the five aggregates, because they also summon and provide the result that is retribution. Even though action ceases immediately as soon as it occurs and cannot be admitted as having the ability to summon future results of retribution, yet it perfumes root consciousness and generates its own powers, and these powers are called habit energy. They are the vapors of deeds created by perfuming. Past and present action are excluded, and for that reason, the verses speak of habit energy. This habit energy develops in a continuous series up to the time it becomes mature and summons the result that is retribution. This indicates the supreme dominant condition of the future result.
The grasping of the seen, part of consciousness, and the seeing, part, names and form, mind and mental activities, and root and branches lost self and dharmas, is all categorized as the two graspings. The energies in root consciousness that have been perfumed by the two graspings, and that can immediately produce those same two graspings, are called habit energy of the two graspings. This indicates that they are seeds in the capacity of conditions as cause for future mind and its associates as results as retribution. Together with means that the seeds of action together with the seeds of the two graspings, as remote and immediate, conditions respectively, assist each other to produce the result. Because of the obviousness of action summoning birth, the verse mentions it first.
Prior retribution means results as retribution for actions in previous lives. Other retribution means results as retribution for action in later lives. Though the seeds of the two graspings experience results endlessly, still the habit energy of action experiences results and is then exhausted. The result as retribution is difficult to summon due to its difference in nature, but the similar and dominant results are easy to instigate, due to their being of the same nature as their cause.
As a consequence of the maturity of the seeds of action, etc., that instigate other lives, when the enjoyment of results of previous retribution is exhausted, the mature seeds subsequently produce other results as retribution. Consequently, the wheel of birth and death is unending. So why imagine external conditions in order for there to be a continuous series of lives? The meaning of the above verses is that the turning of the wheel due to action and the two graspings does not occur apart from consciousness, because cause and result are by nature dharmas of mind and mental activities.
Next, there is another interpretation, that the continuous series of births and deaths is due to various habit energies, which are, in general, of three kinds. The first is habit energy of names and expressions, that is, the separate, immediate seeds of each conditioned dharma. Names and expressions are of two kinds. The first is names and expressions that express meaning, which is to say, different sounds that express meaning. The second kind is names and expressions that reveal objects, which is to say, mind and mental activities that perceive objects. The seeds that are created by perfuming through the two kinds of names and expressions constitute separate conditions as cause for each conditioned dharma.
The second kind of habit energy is habit energy of grasping a self, that is, the seeds of a false grasping of I and mine. Grasping a self is of two kinds. The first is an innate grasping of a self, which is to say, the grasping of a self and a mine that is to be eliminated by the path of cultivation. The second kind is the grasping of a self through imagination, which is to say, the grasping of a self and a mind that is to be eliminated by the path of insight. Seeds created by perfuming through the two kinds of grasping of a self cause the distinction of self and others among sentient beings, etc.
The third kind of habit energy is the habit energy of the cause of existence, that is, the seeds of action that summon retribution in the three realms. The cause of existence is twofold. The first is impure good, action, which is to say, action that is capable of summoning pleasurable results. The second consists of various non-good actions, which is to say, actions that are capable of summoning non-pleasurable results. The seeds that are created by perfuming in accordance with the two kinds of causes of existence cause the difference between good and evil destinies as results as retribution.
You should understand that the habit energies of grasping a self and the cause of existence are dominant conditions for different results. When the verses speak of habit energy, this should be understood to mean the habit energy of the cause of existence. The words habit energy of the two graspings in the verse should be understood as the habit energies of the two kinds of seeds of grasping a self and names and expressions. All are referred to as graspings because they are created by perfuming from grasping an I and mine and from grasping names and expressions. The meaning of other passages such as together with are as previously explained.
Next, there is another interpretation, that the continuous series of births and deaths is a result of passions, actions, and suffering. Passions are the passions, lit. Afflictions, that produce action and nourish birth. Actions are various actions that are capable of summoning subsequent existences. Suffering is the mass of suffering attracted and generated by action. The seeds of passions, actions, and suffering are all called habit energy.
The first two habit energies, of passions and actions, are dominant conditions for the suffering of birth and death, because they help produce suffering. The third habit energy, of suffering, is capable of acting as the condition as cause for birth and death, because it immediately produces suffering. The three habit energies of the verses should be understood accordingly. Passions and suffering are called graspings because they are, respectively, the grasper and the grasped. Grasping has the meaning of attachment, so action is not so named. The meaning of other passages such as together with are as previously explained. It should be understood that these passions, actions, and suffering are wholly included in the 12 members of existence, i.e., from ignorance up through birth and death, as explained at length in the treatise.
1. The 12 members of conditioned arising. The 12 members can be reduced to 4. The first are those members that project, that is, ignorance and the karmic forces, because they are able to project the seeds of the 5 results consisting of consciousness, etc. Of these, ignorance is considered to be only that which can give rise to good and bad action that directly summons subsequent lives. Karmic forces is the name given to those that are produced by that ignorance. Consequently, none of the actions, whose results are experienced in the present life nor those actions that aid in the generation of future recompense, are this member, karmic forces.
The second kind consists of that which is projected, that is, the seeds in root consciousness that immediately generate future results as retribution, which include the seeds of consciousness, etc., because they are projected and produced by the former 2 members. Here, seeds of consciousness refers to the cause of root consciousness. The remaining causes, excluding the last 3 causes, are all categorized as seeds of name and form, and the last 3 causes are the last 3 kinds of seeds, such as the sequence of name and form.
Or, the seeds of name and form generally indicate 5 causes, and the other 4 kinds of seeds are established according to their predominance. The 6 sense bases and consciousness refer generally to the 6 consciousnesses and specifically to the mental sense field respectively. The Abhidharmasamakaya says that consciousness also projects, because the seeds of action in consciousness are named consciousness member and because the seeds of consciousness as retribution are categorized as name and form. A scripture says that the member of consciousness is both the projecting and the projected, because both seeds of action and seeds of consciousness are called consciousness and because consciousness is the support of name and form and not categorized as name and form.
Even though the perfuming and production through action as a result of the 5 seeds of consciousness, etc., is really simultaneous, still due to their different characteristics as ruler gene the case of consciousness, and retinue, in the case of name and form, 6 sense bases, contact, and feeling, general and specific, respectively, superior and inferior, and cause and result. Some holy teachings say hypothetically that there is a sequence, instead of simultaneity. Or it is said that there is a sequence because there is a sequence in their future actual state. As a consequence of this, it is said that consciousnesses, etc., are actually active, because then they are causes. As seeds, they are definitely devoid of the meaning of actual activity. Moreover, as a consequence of this, it is said that engendering and projecting are simultaneous, because the occasions when the seeds are nourished or not nourished are not simultaneous.
The third kind of member is that which engenders, that is, thirst, grasping, and becoming, because they directly engender future birth, old age, and death. That is, in dependence on the delusion of being confused about internal results as retribution, actions in the form of conditions are produced that are able to summon subsequent lives at once, and the seeds of the 5 results are projected and immediately generate the state of birth and death of future lives. Again, due to the delusion of being confused about external dominant results, i.e., objects, and conditioned by experience of the external realm, thirst is produced and conditioned by thirst. The 4 kinds of grasping, such as grasping of desire, are born. Thirst and grasping combine and nourish the seeds of action that project, along with the projected causes, to be renamed becoming, because together they are able to have immediate results in the form of subsequent lives.
There is a source that just says that the seeds of action are called becoming, because they can directly instigate the result as retribution. There is another source that just says that the 5 seeds of the 5 members beginning with consciousness are named becoming, because they immediately generate seeds of future consciousness, etc. The 4th kind of member consists of those that are engendered, that is, birth and old age and death, because they are directly engendered by thirst, grasping, and becoming. That is, everything from the intermediate existence up to the basic existence, as long as there is no deterioration, is called birth. Old age is the general name for the state of deterioration, and the name death is given to the deterioration of the body and the end of life.
Old age does not definitely exist, so why is it attached to death to form a member? Why is illness not a member? Because it is not universal or necessary for causing rebirth. Even though old age is not necessary, it is universal, and for that reason it constitutes a member, because, with the exception of premature death, all beings in the various realms, destinies, and forms of birth have decaying forces. Name and form are not universal. Why does it constitute a member? It is a member because it is necessary, because those born from wombs, eggs, and moisture must have name and form.